Also contacts regarding education and job placement. Staffers say many people stay in abusive relationships for financial stability. Genesee helps victims to become independent. The anonymous woman in our story lives in supportive housing but is also enrolled in technical college pursuing a career in healthcare.
She is learning. She's learning activities that will help sustain herself and her family going forward.
And she has a message for others in abusive relationships.
Get out. Don't wait until it's too late. You're here today, but you could be gone tomorrow. There is help.
At the Genesee Center, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Victims of domestic violence can call the Genesee Center 24-hour hotline at 1-800-479-7328. In addition to bringing awareness about domestic violence, the city is also sounding the alarm on elder abuse, an all too often hidden crime. Gil Reyes continues on some of the warning signs of elder abuse.
Someone you know, someone you love, may be suffering in silence. Take time to notice him or her. Do you notice a bruise, strange marks on their body? If so, don't be afraid to ask why.
Sometimes the signs are subtle. So the importance of much of what we're talking about is raising community awareness to ask further questions.
The city of Los Angeles receives $1.6 million in grants to battle elder abuse. This can be physical or verbal aggression, also neglect and exploitation of seniors. Grant money from the Department of Justice and Verizon will help train LAPD officers to notice the signs.
Many times signals of this are isolation, the individual being pulled apart and told or kept away from people that they would normally interact with, social activities.
Authorities say abusers are oftentimes trusted caregivers or family members. They also say elder abuse is underreported. Just 100 cases filed last year by the LA City Attorney's Office compared to 11,000 domestic violence cases. Local leaders believe many more victims are out there. Victims who don't complain because of shame or for fear of retaliation.
We want him or her to know there is help. We are here to help. We can get you out of the situation. We can ensure this never happens again.
But this will oftentimes involve the public's help in seeing the signs first. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
If you're a victim of elder abuse or know someone who is, report it immediately. To learn more about this hidden crime, log on to safela.org or call 1-800-799-SAFE to speak with experts about it. It's hard enough to find a parking spot in the city, but when you do, you still have to try to decipher convoluted parking signs. But a plan is in the works to make those signs more motorist-friendly. Yana Kay explains.
You know, it's like right now, no parking that way. 2 hours parking, but you can park from 6 to 3 in the morning.
Kenny Perez is trying to make sense of these 3 very confusing parking signs on Cherokee Avenue in Hollywood.
A lot of times you read the sign and you come back and you have a ticket because you missed a sign.
Usually stacked on top of each other, these signs aren't just confusing for Perez, but for many drivers in Los Angeles.
When they're stacked one on top of the other like that, it can get a bit confusing. You read one thing and then what's underneath seems to contradict it.
That's why Councilmember Paul Krikorian has proposed that the Department of Transportation test out a new, easier-to-read parking sign design as part of a pilot program.
Just make it easier for people to get around and find a parking space and have the confidence that they're going to be able to park there without getting ticketed.
Krikorian says the proposed design will look more like a weekly calendar, allowing motorists to easily visualize what the restrictions are on a particular day. Another issue that's causing some parking controversy are some smartphone parking apps. For example, this Monkey Parking app allows drivers to sell their space to the highest bidder. According to Monkey Parking, the app saves people time by connecting drivers who are leaving a parking spot with others who are looking for one. But it's an idea that's not sitting well with Councilmember Mike Bonin, who introduced and helped pass a motion banning apps in Los Angeles that put parking spots up for sale.
It takes away parking from the general public, and it gives somebody else the opportunity to pimp that space out and make a profit.
And Bonin says the app can create other parking problems because drivers could potentially occupy a chunk of prime parking spots in the city's most popular areas and hold them ransom.
We need to get ahead of the game here and make sure that what is already a parking crisis in Los Angeles doesn't become a parking Armageddon fostered by folks who are looking to make a quick buck for themselves.
Because city leaders say everyone, not just those with extra cash, should have equal access to city parking spots. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
The city of Santa Monica recently approved a similar prohibition banning those parking apps, and Beverly Hills and West Hollywood are currently considering bans as well. Los Angeles is changing its reputation as an urban jungle, one tree at a time, or in the case of the Eagle Rock community, 272 trees at a time.
It's being called the largest tree planting effort in Eagle Rock in 50 years. Volunteers, together with the city's Bureau of Sanitation and Councilmember Jose Huizar, planted tree number 200 in Eagle Rock on a recent Saturday. A grant enabled the Bureau of Sanitation to dig out wells for the planting of the trees in Eagle Rock and Highland Park, but not for their care and maintenance.
200 trees are going in around Eagle Rock that Northeast Trees is being contracted to care for 2 years. So it's not so hard to get the city to give you a free street tree to plant in front of your home or your business. What's tricky is finding a way to keep that tree alive for the first 5 years. They really, with weather like this, it takes a lot of care.
Another 72 trees funded by individual donors were also planted. All the trees were planted along Colorado and Eagle Rock Boulevards in Eagle Rock and Figueroa Street and York Boulevard in Highland Park.
What it really does is build community, because the better looking a community is, the better these trees go out and invite people to walk and stroll and make people feel comfortable. At the end of the day, it's going to provide for more security for the neighborhood. It's going to provide for economic development for the small businesses in the area.
Besides planting a tree, participants at the Tree Festival received free fruit trees from Northeast Trees to plant in their own homes, adding to the city's canopy cover.
I like that we can get some really beautiful trees to put in our front and backyards. I'm looking forward to having some great fruits next year.
From backyards to the streets, residents with a long view of what they want their community to look like in a few years or even a few decades are willing to put in the work now.
We all wanted to come together and celebrate what this means for the community and what it means for our future, the future shade, the cooling effects, and, I'm looking forward to these trees hanging around when my grandkids are born.
Councilmember Huizar also announced that through his Clean Communities initiative and a partnership with the Eagle Rock Neighborhood Council and the city's Bureau of Sanitation, 43 automated trash bins were also installed in Eagle Rock. As the city's month-long celebration of Latino heritage comes to an end, city leaders pay tribute to a very special group of women, those who contribute to their communities through art. Anna Marcos has more.
An artist who burst onto the international pop music scene in the 80s is now taking center stage all over again, this time at City Hall. Sheila E. made her fame on the album Glamorous Life with Prince. The singer, drummer, and actress is now one of more than a dozen Latina artists being honored at City Hall.
My journey in this industry has often been called a rare thing, a female musician, no less a drummer and percussionist of Latin heritage.
This event is part of Councilmember Nury Martinez's Latinas in the Arts celebration, where each council member gets to pick a Latina artist in his or her district to honor during Latino Heritage Month. Martinez picked Sheila E. for both her stage and charity work. The pop star founded Elevate Hope, which provides therapy for abused children through music.
As a survivor of sexual abuse, she has been quoted by saying that her exposure to music at an early age assisted her in her own healing process.
These women are artists, architects, theater directors, set designers, muralists, and more.
One of their signature works is the Great Wall of Los Angeles, which is the master narrative of our city's history that adorns the walls of the Tujunga Wash.
Her work can be seen in motion pictures and television series such as Life of Pi.
But most of all, the women have made a change in their communities, and some remind us we can achieve whatever we dream of, no matter who we are. For Councilmember Huizar, Sheila E. was one of those reminders.
We were looking for
a reflection of ourselves in the barrios and in the Latino community, and you were there.
A day of celebration, inspiration, and art. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
LA public health experts discuss Ebola readiness in our region, a new traffic signal 30 years in the making, and how the city's spending your tax dollars. All you have to do is log on to find out. These stories in City Beat.
City Controller Ron Galperin's office has unveiled a sleek, more modern look for his office's open data site, controlpanel.la, that now includes precise data on the more than $1 billion in goods the city buys. Visitors can see goods purchased by the city through the city's General Services Department from July of 2011 through June of 2014. Items purchased include vehicles, cell phones, cleaning supplies, uniforms, and office supplies. Galperin said his goal in releasing the data is to spur reform by encouraging more bidders, driving down the cost of goods and services for the city, and supporting local businesses and jobs. Councilmember Mitchell Englander joined community members and the city's Department of Transportation to activate the signal at Knollwood Plaza in Granada Hills. The Balboa Boulevard Knollwood Plaza driveway project has added a traffic signal and vehicle entrance exit to the Knollwood Shopping Center.
It's not only going to help the traffic flow on Balboa Boulevard, but the hundreds of people, the thousands of people that utilize this shopping center each and every year.
The community's been asking for a signal at the intersection since the 1980s. Secondary work will add new curb and access ramps that will provide safe passage to the center for pedestrians. In light of the Ebola outbreak in Africa and the 4 confirmed cases of Ebola diagnosed in the United States, Councilman Paul Koretz called on the LA County Department of Public Health to discuss the county's plan of action if our region were to encounter Ebola patients.
We're working with capable companies in the county who can assist us in decontaminating vehicles and facilities and helping us to dispose hazardous waste. And we're assuring that comprehensive social, mental health, housing, and other services are provided to individuals, families, and communities who might be impacted.
People need to understand there is no Ebola crisis in the United States.
Dr. Jeffrey Gunzenhauser agrees, saying he does not anticipate an outbreak of Ebola in LA County.
And the federal government has announced that going forward, airline passengers coming from affected nations must come through 5 designated U.S. airports, none here on the West Coast, to receive additional screening. A special toast to a neighborhood bar that served the community since 1944. Gil Reyes takes us to Atwater Village.
It's the neighborhood bar where not everybody knows your name, but you likely know its name if you're familiar with Atwater Village. Club TG, where the drinks are strong, the conversation is lively, and the owner, she's feisty.
Unfortunately, if you step on my toes, I step back. But that's what's kept me in business. And I'm very glad that I've added a nice little bar to the community where everybody keeps coming back after years.
For over 7 decades serving Atwater Village, Club TG and its outspoken owner, Betty Barlotta, receive a city-certified plaque to be displayed outside the building. The tavern is one of several independently owned small businesses in the community.
And that's important in the city of Los Angeles because those are constantly under threat. And we need to do all we can to preserve and protect and give relief to our small businesses.
While supporting an increase in the minimum wage, Atwater Village Council member Mitch O'Farrell also favors lowering taxes for mom-and-pop businesses like Club TG, a bar that pays homage to its past with black and white photographs proudly displayed on the walls. So maybe not everybody knows your name here, but owner Betty Barlotta proves she at least knows the regulars and has a soft side.
Romy, Nettie,
Mary, your buddy.
Mary, my buddy. Miss Wisniewski, that I've known since she was 5. And thank you for all being here. I really appreciate it.
Cheers to a neighborhood institution. In Atwater Village, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Besides owning Club TG, Betty Barlotta has also been a prominent member of the local Lions Club for 15 years. In this week's list of things to do, Halloween haunts throughout the city, a dance performance about robots, and Islamic art in LA.
This Halloween, if you're looking for safe and free activities for your family to enjoy, look no further than the city's Department of Recreation and Parks. It's hosting, a host of events throughout the city, including this one at the Echo Park Rec Center at 1632 Bellevue Avenue on Halloween night from 4 to 8 p.m. The Halloween party will include a haunted house, costume parade, games, and arts and crafts. There will even be a photo booth, goodie bags, and refreshments. The event is recommended for kids between 5 and 12 years old. For more information on this and the department's other Halloween events, go to laparks.org. The city's Department of Cultural Affairs is collaborating with nearly 30 cultural institutions throughout Southern California, including the Getty, CalArts, and Red Cat, to showcase art from multiple Islamic regions. Los Angeles' substantial populations from areas with strong Islamic roots make LA a compelling location for this initiative called the Los Angeles Islam Arts Initiative, or LAIAI. Anchoring LAIAI are two exhibitions on view at the Los Angeles Municipal Art Gallery at Barnsdall Park from October 26th through December 28th. The Los Angeles Municipal Art Gallery is located at 4800 Hollywood Boulevard. Admission is free. For hours and other information, go to lamag.org. It's all about robots and the meaning of life. That's the name of the choreographed dance spectacle depicting the whimsical tale of a troubled tyrant, his galactic advisors, and the ideals of love, humanity, and connection. The stunning and athletic choreography is set to an original score. Catch the performance for 2 nights only at the historic Barnsdall Art Park in the Gallery Theater on Friday, October 31st and Saturday, November 1st at 8 o'clock sharp. Candy included. The Barnsdall Gallery Theater is located at 4800 Hollywood Boulevard. For ticket prices and other information, go to barnsdall.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
And here's a look at some recent tweets from our city family in This Week in Tweets. Nazario Sauceda of the Bureau of Street Services tweeted this photo of what looks to be construction materials torn down and discarded on the curb. He wrote, "Dumping on the public right-of-way is illegal. Report violations to @BSS Los Angeles and @BSS Help Desk. Clean neighborhoods are great neighborhoods." Meanwhile, Councilman Mitch O'Farrell was busy on Twitter sharing photos of the fitness challenge held at the Bellevue Rec Center involving 5th grade students from several Elysian Heights schools. The event is meant to highlight the importance of active lifestyles. One of the photos even shows Councilman O'Farrell joining some Vine Street Elementary students in a 1-mile run. LA This Week was there and will bring you the full fitness challenge story in an upcoming episode. Halloween is all about the costumes, but what if you couldn't afford to buy one for your child? Anna Marcos brings us a story of generosity.
Plenty of picky customers here, and who wouldn't be picky when it comes to choosing your Halloween costume? Hundreds of kids came out to the giant Halloween costume giveaway put on by the LAPD at Mar Vista Family Center and the Mar Vista Boys and Girls Club.
I want to be Power Ranger, the blue Power Ranger.
I'm here with my kids. They're about to get a free costume.
I got a pink lady. I got a superhero.
I think it's awesome. It's really great. They're all happy and excited. They're getting free costumes.
The costumes were donated by the owner of a costume warehouse, Bonnie's Costumes. She's retiring and wanted to give back to the community.
Kids who are ordinarily wouldn't be able to afford a quality costume, because we believe all kids should be able to go out and have fun and go trick-or-treating.
And as the kids waited to try out costumes, we tried out their Halloween greetings and found out some are not quite up to speed. So what do you say when you knock on a Halloween door?
Aye, aye. Ho, ho. Hi. I don't know. Trick or treat.
Looks like they've got some practicing to do. Well, at least their costumes will be ready for the big night. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook, and our Twitter handle is @LATW35. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. Get Fire Adapted now. Learn simple steps at fireadapted.org.
Ever notice how we no longer focus our attention on one thing at a time? We don't just walk or even just drive. We focus on so many different objects, we don't notice the dangers ahead of us. We're a distracted society. We're blind to the importance of being safe, to the things that really matter. Blind to the things that could actually save our life. We're blind to everything surrounding us. Be aware. Move with care. Watch the road.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an Iyengar yoga teacher here in Los Angeles, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel. Namaste.
This is Wednesday, the 29th of October, 2014. Madam Clerk, yesterday, but Mr. Clerk today, please call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Correa, LaBonce, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, West, and 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Martinez moves, Mr. Englander seconds. Next.
Mr. President, that brings us to commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Bonin approves as always, and Mr. Buscaino seconds.
Mr. President, there's a recommendation from the Department of Building and Safety to receive and file item 1A inasmuch as the property was determined to be an owner-occupied single-family dwelling and therefore exempt from lien processing. Additionally, there is a recommendation from the Office of Finance to receive and file item 2A inasmuch as the taxpayer has paid the liability. Further, there is a request to continue item 21 to November 12.
So ordered. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to items 1 through 13. They're items noticed for public hearing.
All right, that's notice for public hearing. Any specials on those, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, we have cards on items 1, 2, 12, and 13. Again, 1, 2, 12, and 13.
All right, let's vote on the balance of those items. Is that all right, Mr. Clerk? No specials from the members? No specials, member? On the balance. Oh, Mr. Weezar.
I was just practicing, so when I have to stand up later.
Very good. I like that. It's good. It's good. It's good. All right, no speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
10 ayes. Next items.
Mr. President, that brings us to items 14 through 19. They're items for which public hearings have been held. Items 14 and 15 should be held on the desk until such time as the committee reports have been circulated.
Very good. So we'll hold those on the desk, but on the balance, can we vote on the balance, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on the balance, no speakers in the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. Next item.
Very good, sir. Items 20 through 30 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Let's open the roll on consideration.
Or you could do that without objection, sir.
Well, I'll do it without objection then, as you suggest. Without objection. Let's call specials, though. We have one, Mr. Cedillo.
21. 21.
And 21 special. 21 special. Any other special members?
This was not on, and so you could not hear me call out 1819.
1819. Thank you very much. Kenny, let's get on that, okay? Thank you very much. 18, 19, and 21. Thank you.
Mr. President, we should first reconsider items 18, 19, and 21.
All right, for reconsideration on a vote, open the roll for reconsideration, 18, 19, 21. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. So it's reconsidered. We can call those special now, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What else is on the balance?
That brings us to items 20 through 30. Items 20 through 30, sir. We do have cards on item 20, 24, and 28.
Got it. So we'll call those special. On the others, members, do we have any specials on those others? See no other specials. On the balance, let's open the roll on the balance, Mr. Clerk. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. Next item.
Mr. President, items 31 and 32 are items for scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
Yeah, we'll hold them on the desk. Mr. Krikorian, the chair of the committee, will be here shortly.
Very good, sir. And lastly, that brings us to item 33. It's an item on the continuation agenda. And we do have 10 votes. It's an item that has not been scheduled. 10 votes are required for consideration.
All right. So for the consideration, Mr. Weezar?
Are we going to call that special?
Well, we got to consider it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So without objection. So
very good, sir. And there are cards on that matter. So would you like to lay it on the desk?
That is special. Very good. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings council back to presentations.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Weezar, I jumped the gun. I want you to do this special introduction right now.
Mr. President. Thank you. And si se pueden parar, por favor, los visitantes de México. Gracias. Colleagues, today we are honored to have with us Captain Juan Carlos Vera Minjares, in charge of the Mexican Navy tall ship called Buque Escuela Velero Cuauhtémoc that is visiting Los Angeles. They are currently docked in Council District 15, Mr. Joe here, Vizcaínos District. This is a very special ship as it travels the world along with young Mexicans who aspire to serve the country in the Mexican Navy. Joined by Captain Vera are Mr. Francisco Perez Rico, Edgar Lozano Pech, and Pablo Alcantara Silva. And I'm happy to share with you that Mr. Alcantara's wife is from my hometown of Jerez, Zacatecas. Que viva Jerez, Zacatecas. And thank you for visiting today. Bienvenidos a la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Aquí estamos para trabajar juntos a mejorar los dos países. Gracias.
Thank you very much for the Mexican Navy and everybody. We thank you. Have a great time. Mr. Cedillo for very special comments.
También quiero decir bienvenido, está en su casa.
Thank you very much, and I hope, Mr. Weezar, you can have one of your deputies take him to the tower, because on a clear day, which is today, you can see the underside of the St. Vincent Thomas Bridge down to San Pedro.
Okay, and
Very
I think
good.
that before we get to the Tom Broadley Tower, I heard there's a floor where the 22nd floor that's called the Tom LaBonge floor before you get to the Tom Broadley floor.
No, man. No, I'm the closet, man, if that. That's it, if that. The broom closet. Thank you, Mr. Weezar. You're very kind. Let's give another hand for our friends in the Mexican Navy. Mr. Clerk, let's call item number 1. We have a card for it. I'll call item number 1, please.
Very good, sir. That's item number 1, called Special for Cards.
Mr. Walsh, please.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, and for identification purposes only, State Chairman of No. 6 no's in a row on the propositions. Number 1, this concerns appeals or objections to building and safety reports. As I've said before, if you come up here and challenge any of these, you know, if you're the person who has to pay it, they automatically talk to you and discount it by 50%. So I think you should owe anybody here, many of these liens are outrageous. If you don't say anything, you have to pay it. So I would suggest that anybody who has a lien, come here, we'll talk to you. Nobody ever comes back twice when the lien comes over, rolls over. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, if you stay there, you're up next, Mr. Walsh, too.
2 I'm going to pass.
Okay, Mr. Walsh is going to pass. So let's vote on item number 1. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Item number 2, Alan. The card has been a pass for Mr. Walsh. Item number 2.
Very good, sir.
Let's open the roll on item number 2. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes.
Forthwith on 26, please.
Forthwith on 26,
Mr. Fuentes.
which was done earlier. Mr. Cook, let's go to item 13 real quick here. Kathleen Langen. Kathleen here? She's going to pass. Mr. Clerk, we could vote on item 13. That's the only card that we have. Item 12. Check that. Item 12. Please note the card of Ms. Langen. She passes. Open the roll on 12. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Very good. Mr. 13, Mr. Clerk, we have 1 card for Mr. Walsh. Would you call Mr. 13, please? Pass on 13. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Let's open the roll on 13. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, members, we're now going to move to the presentation portion of our meeting today, and I'd like to Mr. Labange, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. It is an honor to serve the city of Los Angeles, and it's an honor to sometimes chair the meeting, but it's a greater honor to honor someone from this very special desk right here. This morning here, we're saluting the Alzheimer's Awareness Month, which is very important. It's all of November, just starting here in a few days. And we know what a challenging degree is for all of us, some of our family members, some of our constituents, all are exposed to the challenges of Alzheimer's. And I have some very special words here today, but I want to first introduce Susan, I want to say it correctly.
Galeas.
Susan Galeas, who's the CEO and president of the Alzheimer's Association of Southern California, and Jennifer Schlesinger, Director of Professional Training and Service in Healthcare. We first knew Jennifer when she was a great administrator at Wilson High School in El Sereno, and she joined this organization because of her passion as an individual, want to see that help be given to those in need. Alzheimer's affects many, many people throughout the world, and in this month we want to show recognition for support, care, and research. In 1979, Jerome H. Stone and representatives from several families which support groups met with the National Institute of Aging to explore the value of a national independent nonprofit organization to complement the federal efforts for surrounding Alzheimer's disease. That meeting resulted in the foundation and formation of the Alzheimer's Association, of which Mr. Stone is the founding president. There's a Southern California chapter here which has one of 70 chapters throughout, serving across the United States. There's a big walk this weekend, which is more important to know. I know, Ms. Martinez, you're a great hiker, climber, walker. It's out at Century City. And we want to invite everybody Sunday morning, which starts right at 8 a.m. or a little earlier.
Registration at 7.
Registration at 7, and it gets off right after that, which is real good. But I wanted to just tell you, each of us, and especially your deputies, because your deputies got to get the work done and push it through, Mr. Englander. Alzheimer's is an important battle that we could help fight and help. Many people are living a longer life, and without the care and help and support of the Alzheimer's Association and other efforts, they don't have that awareness. So with that, on behalf of Mayor Garcetti, I want to salute you both, Jennifer, for your work that you do, Jenny, and Susan for you as the CEO. Thank you so much. Give them a big hand right there. Bravo. You got to say a few, Susan.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Labange, and thank you, everyone, for recognizing Alzheimer's as the devastating disease and recognizing the importance of increasing awareness. Currently in our country, there are over 5 million people living with Alzheimer's or related dementia. There are over 15 million unpaid caregivers, and that equates to over 17.7 billion hours of care, to the tune of over $220 billion. This is the most expensive disease our country has ever encountered. And if we don't do something about this disease in the next 35 years, it has the potential of bankrupting our healthcare system. Today, it's already bankrupting many families. Los Angeles is a vibrant community, and it's made up of incredible neighborhoods and wonderful families. And we really do want to make a difference for those families by identifying a cause, a treatment, or a cure for this disease. And equally important, we have to care for the people who are affected today while we're waiting for that cause, treatment, and cure. Women, by the way, are at the greatest risk. Women are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's than they are to develop breast cancer after the age of 60. And they're also more likely to be the primary caregivers for people who are living with this disease. The state of California has about 10%, actually a little bit more, of those people who are affected by this disease. So we're kind of at the epicenter of this disease as a state, and Los Angeles, being one of the most populated areas of the state, is certainly seeing a difference. It's also greatly affecting those most vulnerable communities because of the cost. And because of that, we're very grateful that you all are recognizing the importance of increasing awareness and doing something about this disease. Sunday is our walk, and it's in Century Park at Century City. It's free, and as are, by the way, all of our programs and services. What we do in our locations, we have 3 locations in Los Angeles County, and we provide programs and services for families who are affected. And I'm just going to bring up one more point. Yes, people who age are at the greatest risk, but we see a lot of people walking through our doors in their 40s and 50s and early 60s who are diagnosed, and they have young families at home. So we hope that people will come out and support the walk and help us find a cause, a treatment, or cure, and care for people who are living with the disease today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Labange, we have a colleague on the board, Mr. Bloomingfield.
Great. Thank you. I just wanted to thank Mr. Labange very much for bringing this forward. It's a really important that you do. And Susan Gallant, who we've worked together on these issues back when I was in the state, and was happy to participate in several of the walks that used to be in my assembly district, are now not quite in my council district, but I still very much enjoy participating in them, and it is such an important cause. It just strikes the very being of a person in such a dramatic way that it's great that we're raising the awareness and we're walking to end Alzheimer's. And I just wanted to add my voice to it, especially since we've had the occasion to work together, and I appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, I don't want you to forget your name of your title on your card. It's Los Angeles City Council Member in Century Cities in Los Angeles. So we'll see you there Sunday morning. That'd be good. You could walk down. It's in your district. Susan, thank you very much. And I want to let you know, Susan's not a Silver Laker, but she lives in our region here, and her hair is colored purple because purple is a color awareness for Alzheimer's. So I wanted to let you know how hip that is. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let's give a big hand for Sunday and the awareness in all month. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, sit down now. Okay. And you know what a 45 is, Mr. President? You remember what a 45 is? That's a record, you know, and you got an A side and B side.
I hate to admit it, but I do know.
Alzheimer's is the A side, but the double A side is coming right up. KZET. Please welcome their General Manager, Chief Executive Al Jarone right now, and the whole team. Come on in. Come on in here. Good job. You know, it's hard to believe 50 years ago, you know, we're about the same age there, Mr. President. 1964, there were the Olympic Games in Tokyo, and I remember Bob Hayes in the 100 meters. And
yes.
All that, and all the history that went on in life. Well, a little history started 50 years ago because public broadcasting came to Los Angeles and KCET. This is their 50th anniversary. It's the largest independent public television station in our country. And we're so proud of all the work they've done. Community television for Southern California was formed in 1962 and then expanded throughout the area with local leaders, and all the purpose of establishing educational television. The community's first station was on Vine Street at 1313 North, and for many, many years they were in the old Republic Studios right on 4401 Sunset Boulevard, where there's a plaque, Johnny. There's a plaque there that says it's the northwest corner of the city of the original Pueblo, Los Angeles. Its history is so deep there, as in the history of their service. For over 40 years, they've served us so well, and since they've expanded their vision today, original online content, and doing all the things with Link Media, all the things that keep up with the modern age. I still like the old clicker, you know, which I had a brother Chris, and he called me. He was over next door, and he wanted to change the channel. There was no clicker. He called me over to come over and walk down the stairs and actually change it. Now they got clickers, which is good. All that history in television broadcasting is so important. Public media plays an important role in the nonprofit sector and the lives of Angelenos, and it's an integral part of our society. So on behalf of Mitch O'Farrell and myself, because Mitch is a great neighbor and involved in this, and on behalf of the mayor, Mr. Garcetti, we salute KCET today. Public television #1, and you can't say KCET without saying the late, great Huell Howser. But Al Jarone, for you and your staff, and all the team that is there and the work that you've done. And the thing I really remember most, Al, is as a young man growing up in this city, is the phone call, the dial in, I support KCET, and the citizen participation. This is what it's all about. Let's give a big hand for KCET. We're going to take a picture in a second. Will you say a few words right now? Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Labange. Mr. President, council members, we, on behalf of our board of directors and our staff, we are very appreciative and humbled by this proclamation. And as Councilmember Labange mentioned, we are the largest independent public television station in the United States. I think it's well known that 4 years ago we ended our relationship with PBS, and I think there's one very important thing to mention, and that is that we are producing more content online and on air right now that is about Los Angeles than we ever did when we were a PBS station. And in the next 50 years, I can almost guarantee you that this trend is going to continue to grow, and we will help redefine what public media is in the 21st century, and it will be more distinctively local. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. President, this is the great team here, and I know you got the greatest style right there. Say something on behalf of the staff.
We are so, I'm Juan Davis. I'm the Senior Vice President of Original Productions for KCET Link. I know a lot of you here, and we have been able to have talks about, the city, the future, and the role that KCET can play in not only telling the stories of our region, but in helping transform it in a healthy and positive way. We're very proud to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and what I'm also proud, Mr. President, is the Heritage Days that they have, where they invite the variety, the diversity, the greatness of Southern California to the studio to come in the Culture Days, and they salute great Angelenos and Southern Californians. Let's hear it for KCET.
Yeah, let's do that. 50 years. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Clerk, after Mr. Labange gets his great shot, I think we should move to item 14, I believe it is. We have a commissioner.
Yes, sir, that's right. Item 14. It was a matter that was held pending the circulation of the committee report. That report now has been circulated, and the matter is before you.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we have here with us today Ms. Marian Merritt, who is being appointed to the West Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. We heard the item yesterday in our Plum Committee, and we highly recommend her. She's sitting here, and we want to congratulate her and thank her for her service on this commission should she be approved. I ask for an A vote. Thank you.
Okay, Miss, if you'd come forward. Mr. Koretz, is that an accident, or did you want to say something?
I want to say something.
Okay, Mr. Koretz.
I have known Marian Merritt for a long time. She's not only a friend and a constituent, but she's had a very capable career as someone that graduated from Boston University School of Management and the Wharton School with an MBA in marketing, and went on to be very successful in the corporate world, primarily with the Symantec Corporation, where, among other things, she created the first antivirus product exclusively for home computer use, something pretty notable. She's active as a leader in the Jewish community and is smart and capable and will do an amazing job in this position. So I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. You know what? I think you may have this, so why don't we just open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, what do you want to go to at this point?
Mr. President, item 15 was also held for pending the circulation of a committee report. That is now in, and council could take up item 15 if it so chooses.
Okay, let's do that. There are no cards. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Clerk, what do you...
Perhaps we could go to item number 20, sir. Item 20 was called special for cards.
All right. Okay, we'll move to item 20. I've got Mr. Walsh. Please come forward on item 20, and Mr. Herman on item 20.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. You know, generally I agree with the mayor. Give them a shot at running, although Ms. Doughton had to file a letter, signed resignation without a date in order to get the job. But Becca Doughton has a long, checkered career. She was chief deputy of a man who's one of your colleagues who is about to go to prison, where he will be risking homosexual rape every day, and that, of course, is Mr. Alarcon. I believe that she was in a conspiracy with Mr. Alarcon to use the phony address. Miss Becca Doughton knew that he did not live at the address he said, and now he's going to go to prison and risk prison rape, Mr. Alarcon, and I'm not crying about that because he's very attractive. HollywoodHighlands.org, and I want to say to all the criminals with Mr. Alarcon, he's hot. HollywoodHighland.org.
Lord help us. Okay, let's... Mr. Herman.
Now, whether or not Mr. John Walsh is just making this all up, you, Angelenos, have to make a decision whether this is a conspiracy ethically to hide the truth that Richard Alarcon did or did not lie for his votes to become a councilman. So the whole point here is we're talking about Miss Becca, B-E-C-C-A.
Yeah, let's stay on the subject.
G-O-T-E-N, Ms. Doughton, to the Board of Recreation and Parks Commission. Now, do we need this sort of person or persons to do business for us residents, citizens of Los Angeles? I'm going to hold my time to the 1 minute. You make that decision. I say vote. No, no, no. Proposition 47. Thank you.
Stay on the subject. I'm warning you in advance. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we're going to take up 24 at this time?
Yes, sir. Item 24 called special for cards.
Okay, I've got Mr. Herman and Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, and for identification purposes only, State Chairman of no, vote 6 noes on the propositions. That's for identification purposes. John Denver. You know, fine. We're all for John Denver's star. Maybe you could have given it to him while he was still alive. He lived for like, 64, 65 years. But we want to call attention to John Denver's star will be a piece of crap within 2 or 3 years. Go out there and look at the stars. They're in terrible condition. Labange says they're in good condition. I put up on my tweet Jean Hersholt star. Jean Hersholt has a letter gouged out. People go and they gouge out letters. The entire Walk of Fame is the Walk of Shame. It's in terrible condition. Meanwhile, the people who run it are pulling down $100,000 a year. HollywoodHighlands.org. For shame, Hollywood Walk.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. And Mr. Herman, I want to tell you in advance, I do not want to hear your cowbell.
Due to the fact that we have the installation for the name of John Denver at 7065 Hollywood Boulevard, it is a time of fame and recognition to John Denver. So we can never say no, 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 no to John Denver, a star in Hollywood Boulevard. Never, never, never. So no, 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 no. Again, you all with the no's represent that we should always have an installation that is professional, standing out, and giving John Denver recognition so that Mr. Krikorian can lift his head up and say, John Denver, thank you for the music,
subject.
and thank you for the celebrations of live entertainment to all Angelenos, everyone in Hollywood. Say no, 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 Proposition 47.
Stay on the subject. That is not the subject. Sergeants, that cowbell is a disruption. Mr. Herman, I told you it was a disruption. Please secure it so it does not make noise, please. Okay, let's prepare to vote on that item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Now, you're still disrupting the meeting. One more disruption, and I'm going to ask the sergeants to show you out. Let's move to 28.
Yes, sir. That would be item 28, called Special for Cards.
Okay, Mr. Herman and Mr. Walsh on item 28.
And Mr. President, in regards to item 28, a communication from the chair of the Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee has been submitted and has been circulated and is now before council.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, this is an action of the airport commissioners and their deputy city attorney, whose name was Garcia. And I want to point out he was not an Hispanic, he was an Asian Garcia. Now, this gentleman who was directly involved in this was recently, he pled guilty to pornography, not regular pornography, child pornography, shots of Hispanic and white children being sodomized. He was selling it on his
Stay on the
airport
subject.
commissions. I am the subject is the airport commission, the city attorney, and as far as I'm concerned, I know you don't give a damn about kiddie porn, but let's put it this way. This gentleman
Stay on the subject, Mr.
did
Walsh.
not
That's all I'm
serve
asking.
a second. No on this. HollywoodHighlands.org. No on the kiddie porn city
Thank you.
attorney.
Thank you very much. Mr. Herman.
I'm very offended that you grabbed my cowbell, which I was not shaking.
No, okay, that has nothing to do. It's a disruption. In fact, you forfeit your time on this. Mr. Herman, have a seat. Your time is forfeit. Okay, members, let's prepare to... No, you don't... I told you to stay on the subject. I've told you that 3 times. When you come up, stay on the subject. Take your seat, and the next time you come up, stay on the subject because you are disrupting this meeting. Now, with that said, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, that would bring council to items 18, 19, and 21.
I think, you know what we can do? I can take some general public comment.
Yes, sir.
Because I know that we wanted to try to get closer to 11. So why don't we do that? Mr. Walsh, general public comment. Followed by Mr. Huey, general public comment.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or you can go to J. Walsh Confidential, or you can go to our tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Coming down here, the Red Line has become the home of the homeless. I'm putting it up on my tweet account. People are sleeping in the stations. But the most important thing now is to say, come to our website. Yes, no. They are insulting you with commercials that are deceptive. You will not live to regret a no vote. No. 1,000 times no, 6 times no. It's sweeping America, it's sweeping Los Angeles, it's sweeping Northern California. And if you vote yes on the water bond, what will happen is they have a precedent. The wording does not have to appear in this water bond. They can take that money and build 2 gigantic tunnels and drain the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta dry. All the Greens, all the Democrats in Northern California know what this is about. It's stealing water for agribusiness, for the nut farmers. It takes 1.5 gallons of water to make 1 almond. We're the only place in the world that's, where almonds grow. You must vote no. And you must vote, if you can, for Sandra Fluke. She is being a rich Democrat is spending $1 million to get rid of the slut. And if you vote for the opponent, Mr. Allen, you are calling Sandra Fluke, she pronounces it 2 different ways, a slut. No. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Hui. Bill, I saw him earlier. Do we have a Robert Brown? Robert, please come forward. And Bill, you can get behind Robert. Yes, sir, Mr. Brown.
Thank you for taking my questions, Mr. President. 2 quick comments. One is on Prop D, the medical marijuana dispensaries. They're supposed to be at least 1,000 feet away from a school or at least 700 feet away from a daycare. And there's one particular one that is 264 feet from a child care center and 52 feet away from a drug rehab center, which makes no sense at all to me. The second issue is about speed humps, the necessary to install speed humps on my street. My street, because it does not have speed humps, is a thoroughfare. Traffic's rerouted through there. People drive like 55 miles an hour, and sometimes they go through the stop sign. We need to get emergency funding. I know that the fiscal year began on July 1st and ends on June 30th, but we need to provide emergency funding to install speed humps on 70th Street block of 2nd Avenue before somebody gets killed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Mr. Hui, I thought we had lost you.
Yeah, I was talking to Councilman. Good morning, Councilman, President Weston, and members of the LA City Council. Last week, a federal judge in San Francisco ruled that the City of San Francisco's tenant relocation fees are unconstitutional. Now, up there, they're charging up to $100,000 to relocate a tenant. But in LA, we have landlords, these mom and pop landlords that own older buildings that are under rent control. They're collecting $400 a month for an apartment. And to give a tenant $24,000 to relocate them, you're giving back about 8 years' worth of rent money. This is totally unfair. I mean, we need some balance. I mean, tenants shouldn't be thrown out of their apartments, but to bankrupt the landlord, that's why we're losing affordable units in LA. And I would love to sit down with anyone on the council who wants to work out a fair plan for landlords and tenants. You know, the new buildings going up, and poor people can't afford them. We got to come up with something sensible. Bill Hui, FairHousingCoalition.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't I get Mr. Marine and Mr. Jose Martinez to come forward. We'll start off Mr. Marine, with you. And Mr. Martinez, are you here? You should be coming up next. Okay, Mr. Marine.
Yes, as you know, the maximum time a worker can remain in a temporary position is 1,000 hours. Therefore, government records and union records show that the members of this council and the Hackler board have been sheltering the money of Hackler and Kohler employees and not accounting for it longer than law allows. In addition, the city and the Hackler has been making loans to unions without accounting for these funds longer than the law allows. In addition, the members of the Building Trades Committee have been sheltering 10% from the pay of each employee and letting their colleagues use it at their own discretion. Now, is anybody, can you read my lips? Huh? Yeah, well, we know this public and union officials have been using money of public employees for so long that Martin Ludlow thought he was legally working when he was serving on the city council and serving as a local union business manager. But we know that the successors of Gil Garcetti made him aware what he was doing was illegal. Now, it appears the members of this council need Jackie Lacey's help to help them find out whether the money that was sheltered from the pay is shown in MOU-defined pay deductions is legal or illegal.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Martinez, Jose Martinez, followed by Mr. Spindler. I thought I saw him earlier. And I believe this is Mr. Herman.
Yes, it's time to talk about the cowbell. The cowbell is a tradition of American culture. Up in Sacramento, the Sacramento Kings, 15,000 people come in with cowbells, and they ring them in support of their fans. On farms, you put cowbells around the cows, so in case they get away, you can hear where they're going. And when you're out there at night on your horse, I know many of you here on the council are ranchers, you know that when you're on your horse and those cows are out there in the dark, that cowbell assures your safety and the safety of your workers. So a gentleman today brought a cowbell. Yesterday there was a rally to fix our streets. Maria Elena Durazo, your biggest friend and largest campaign donor, handed out cowbells to all the union members that could get them. They only had a limited supply, and out there in the streets, shut down legally with a permit, the cowbells were rung. But one man brings a cowbell into this chamber, and he's threatened with arrest. The same man was assaulted by one person over here in the corner who resides in Encino. Why are speakers in a Brown Act legislated meeting, why are they being threatened with arrest, detention, and harassment? You only get 2 minutes. The campaign donors are going to get their way. So come on, let us bring cowbells in and ring those cowbells because we want a new council that's fair and honest.
Okay, Mr. Herman, followed by Mr. Akala.
Woo! Back to 2 minutes, folks. And Mr. Winter, the next time you touch my arm, just a reminder, officer with 38875, that Paul Koretz assaulted me on October 7th, 2 hours and 3 minutes during general public comment with this effing time here. And I find it offensive that you don't accept the criticism that we are criticizing you for your performance. Your performance. And I'm just going to remind you, based on a guide to disability rights and laws for my violations, that you took action with this officer to grab my arm from a podium. Am I really a threat? Look, a skinny little man like me a threat? Come on. Skinny little man like me a threat? I feel threatened by the officers grabbing me. No reason. Requirements that prohibit exclusion, segregation, and unequal treatment is a violation of my rights. My rights here, and I'm an American citizen, and I have rights. Not to be threatened, not to be assaulted, and not to fear any one of you dumbasses that put your hands on me for no apparent reason. All you children here listening in college, this is my First Amendment right under the Constitution, under the Brown Act 54950, not to be assaulted in a public meeting. Should I get on my knees and say, proposition, proposition, no, 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 vote no? That's my point. Neil Kashkari, I represent and support. You can't say no, no, no. And no, no, no to Proposition 47. No, no, no to Proposition 1 and 2. It's a bunch of bullshit. All propositions. The bottom line is, don't threaten me,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you. Your time is up. That's the bottom line. Mr. Akala.
The people on television, please note how remote the camera gets. You can barely see those people over there on your stupid camera. But you know what? We all have better cameras than you idiots. And we're watching you every minute. I'm sorry for Alarcón. I used to like him a lot. And he got put in jail. Son of a... I can't say much about Koretz and Krikorian because they're always against us. They hate the people. There's no constitutionality around here. We want the freedom of speech that we have. We had to go to the Supreme Court, and they said, you can call them son of a bitches. Yeah, you can. You can call them assholes. You can call them dickheads, because that's what they are. And you are the people. You have the right to speak like the people. So you see, we have more power than you, and you think you have more power than us. Well, everywhere I go, oink, oink, oink. I see a lot of shit all over the city. I see people sleeping under bridges, and you present us with your beautiful city. Anybody that comes to LA takes their lives into their hands. A lady just got her throat slashed because of a parking. She couldn't find parking. And you're charging everybody parking up the ass everywhere. You restrict parking for everybody. Go straight to hell, City Council.
Thank you. Your time's expired. That concludes general public comment. So we're now going to move to go to item 2. Mr. Akala, we have item 2. Or no. 2A, I'm sorry.
Item 2A, hearing, protest, referring to Office of Finance reports requiring approval to record items against Jesus and Oh, you're gonna put a lien on another poor people's house? What the hell are you doing, City Council? It's illegal what you do. You cannot go around taking the houses away from people that already bought them.
This is not regarding this item.
Mr. Acala, please stay on the subject.
Look, the lien is $5,174. Why? Why are you putting a lien on this man's house? Why? Can you afford a lien similar to that without going out on the street?
He is not talking about this unpaid taxes lien.
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll give you one more try at it.
All right, well, you create the taxes and we have to pay them. Who's the thief? You are the thief.
Okay, so without object, Mr. Clerk.
And Mr. President, if I may, again, there is a recommendation from the Office of Finance to receive and file this item inasmuch as the taxpayer has paid the liability.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Okay, that brings us where? Mr. Cedillo? So we will take up items, what is it? 18, 19, and 21. Mr. Cedillo.
Is this on?
I
18,
do
19,
have,
and
I have
21.
some cards, Mr. Cedillo. So you want me to take the cards or wait until you're finished?
Why don't we take the cards, get that out of the way, and then we can go forward with the business.
Mr. Acala, Spindler, and Peter Coons.
I don't know why you keep calling me. I want to go celebrate the Day of the Dead because...
Well, you better stay on the subject or
Okay,
you can go do that a little quicker than anticipated.
Housing Committee report and communication from member Budget and Finance Committee relative to the impact to the city's foreclosure registry ordinance of the U.S. District Court ruling against the city of Chicago's foreclosure ordinance? They should foreclose on every damn city hall. That's
Stay
what
on
they
the
should
subject.
do.
Stay on the subject, Mr.
Well,
Acala.
that is my opinion, you know.
No, but you have to stay on the subject. I respect your opinion. Just stay on the subject.
No, the item is, what are we doing with Chicago's things here? Shouldn't we be worried about Los Angeles somehow? Not that it's going to do any good, you know? It really don't do any good for the people to come and talk to you, because all you do is you make your own decisions anyway.
Okay, Mr. Spindler, followed by Mr. Coons.
It's with great pleasure that finally the city of Los Angeles has stepped into the foreclosure problem. And now the people who are wrongfully foreclosed are going to get their houses back. Not. No, what we have here is we have a fee. Yes, we have a fee. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to find a way for the city to generate more fee revenue under the guise that we're doing something holy under the foreclosure registry program. Yesterday, Gloria Molina, candidate trying to steal Jose
Stay on the
Weizar's city
subject.
seat, we will stop it. And a gentleman had bought a foreclosed property at a tax lien sale. And Chase Bank came back and got the property back because when it was foreclosed, they were WAMU. And because the county gave notice to WAMU that there was a foreclosure sale over 1 year ago, the corrupt county attorney said that Chase can go back and take all that property back now, even though it's went up 24% in value, and give back the winning bidders at the tax sale their money plus a mere 1.1% interest on the money. So good times are back. Foreclosed properties now, the bank wants them back. Vote no on this. They don't need the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peter Coons. Welcome.
Thank you, council members. Peter Coons with ACE and Fix LA. And first, just wanted to say thank you to Council Member Cedillo, the other council members that worked on this ordinance, as well as all the city staff. I know it was a lot of hard work. You know, it's past time that we actually make this ordinance work because we know that our communities are still full of vacant foreclosed homes that are in bad condition. So this is just so exciting that the city is actually now setting a model for other cities of how to, you know, stop losing money. We're covering the cost, taxpayers are covering the cost currently of these vacant foreclosed homes, and the city is now, you know, enacting a provision to recover some of that money. I don't think we're going to be able to recover all of it, but it will be actually covering the cost of the inspections and also making sure that banks register their properties, which has been, we discovered that there's lots of properties that aren't even on the registry, so we're very excited that the housing department is moving forward on making banks register their properties or pay a fine. In terms of concerns, you know, just we're glad that the city is also going to be looking at, continue to look at the issue of the properties that are in default where the foreclosure sale has not occurred yet, because even though that's not part of the current proposal, we know that there's a lot of properties that are in the notice of default stage that there is no one else to hold accountable for the condition of that property but the bank. And we believe that legally the city's on firm ground with, just as in other cities like Oakland, applying this policy and these inspections to the vacant properties that are in the notice of default stage as well. So we're glad that that's coming back to take a look over the next couple of months. But just congratulations and thank you, Councilmember Cedillo, for putting this out there. We're really excited. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Mr. Cedillo, general public or public comment on this item is closed. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, wait, it looks like we have, are there some cards that may have been misplaced on this item? In fact, and it's my mistake for not, the public hearing on 18 and 19, I'm informed, has been satisfied. And 21 was the only item of the three. So if you want to speak on 21, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. John Howland with the Central City Association. I'm here today to oppose the imposition of an across-the-board fee on a proactive inspection program. While we do appreciate the staff recommendation to begin at the REO stage and not on default, while contrary to what you just heard, when a house goes into default, it is still owned by the homeowner. The homeowner is responsible for the maintenance of the house. The bank or servicer is not responsible for it, and any fee that is imposed at that stage is payable by the homeowner, and it's one more fee to tack on. But the city is approaching all of these foreclosed properties as problems, and we think that the city should, instead of taking this across-the-board approach, should focus on the problem houses. The problem houses that are in foreclosure, yes, there are problems. So focus on those. That's where the time and the resources of the city should be focused, and not an across-the-board approach. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is Ruben Gonzalez. I'm here on behalf of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. We all support reducing blight. We all support getting arms around the repercussions of the foreclosure challenges. However, this is not the way. If we're trying to recoup costs for what the city needs to do to deal with blighted properties, then we should have a responsive registry inspection system where we can simply educate the public to let us know that the properties near them are in need of inspection and action. And in that case, then you're actually setting up a system where those lenders who aren't doing the job of keeping the properties up to date, of keeping the properties clean, of making sure they're not blights, are the ones that are impacted. Otherwise, you're simply punishing every lender, whether they're being a good corporate citizen or not. That shouldn't be the case. And the only reason to make it the case is if what we're trying to do is to create a new stream of revenue for the city to either hire new inspectors or provide overtime for current inspectors. And again, that is not a smart way to move. It's not a fair way to move to the industry. It does not solve the problem in the most cost-effective and efficient way. And frankly, this will be a revenue stream that will continue to get smaller and smaller as we go forward and our arms get around these properties. So you'll be creating either new positions or creating a lot of overtime infrastructure that will no longer need to be, no longer have the money flowing in to be dealt with over time. So I would suggest that you hold this up and look at doing a responsive system instead of a proactive system. Don't punish the banks and the lenders that are being good corporate citizens and actually taking care of their properties. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, Mr. Coons, why don't you have some folk with you? Were you going to try to translate, or how do you want to work this out? Because I have an Angelina Jimenez, then that's you. Come on up.
Buenos días a todos.
Good morning.
Yo solamente vengo a agradecer al señor Cedillo
I would like to thank Councilmember Cedillo
por apoyarnos con las casas abandonadas y llevar a cabo las multas de los bancos.
for supporting holding banks accountable for vacant houses and implementing a fine if they don't.
Porque los únicos que tienen la responsabilidad de limpiar las casas abandonadas son ellos, porque ellos quitan las casas y las dejan abandonadas.
Because the banks are the ones that should be held accountable for maintaining these vacant houses, since they're the ones that foreclose on people and remove the homeowners or the families from the house.
Muchas gracias, señor Cedillo, y a todos los que trabajan con usted apoyándonos a nosotros.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo, and everyone else that worked on this policy.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Okay. Beverly Roberts.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys that are working on this, because at least we're moving forward much further than what we have been. And I thank Councilman Cedillo and also Councilman Price, because I've interacted with them and I know they are for doing the right thing. Also, I think you are, you too, sir. I've heard that you are for this thing. I don't know whether it's true or not, but I certainly hope so. But I still congratulate you, and we've got to make these banks pay. That's what we got to do. Thank you.
Thank you for coming down. Mr. Spindler?
Right. Yes, we have to make the banks pay. They want the properties back because the...
Whoa. Mr. Spindler, you already spoke on 21, and so you already got your time, and that's my mistake. But you already spoke on this, so now that leaves us, I think, with Mr. Acala as well. Herman, I think you're the one that has not spoken on this. Juan, move over. I think you have. Mr. Just let me sort it out. Move out the way. And Mr. Herman, you come forward.
I know I'm not irrational or wrong, but yes, the blight caused by this housing condition, by foreclosures, And now, at a time when Jose Huizar wants to be a part of it, I say to you, Fair Housing Act says this: the Fair Housing Act has amended and prohibits housing discrimination on the basis of your race, color, disability, family status, and national origin. It covers and includes private housing, housing that receives federal financial assistance, you dumbass banks, and the state and local governments for housing. So the bottom line is, you've heard all your Angelinos complain, and what do they say? What are they saying? We're sick and tired of our blighted community. We're sick and tired of the public nuisance created by foreclosed homes because the city council prefers to leave it alone and not support us who need homes. Those of us who want to stay in our homes and not become a part of the Krikorian and Englander throw you out of your home. It sucks. I'm sick and tired of hearing of homeless people, our homeland vets, women and children in the streets today because they cannot receive the same federal and state dollars that you deny them the right to fair housing and not blighted conditions for the foreclosed homes that you allowed to happen. You should have got involved then, not wait for the economic downfall of the foreclosures of all our homes throughout the city of Los Angeles. So you become the issue of blight. You become the issue of a nuisance. And when I go to the voting polls November 4th, I'm going to think about this situation of the Los Angeles Foreclosure Registry Program to establish an inspection.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Your time is passed, and that concludes the public comment on these items. Mr. Cedillo?
Mr. President and colleagues, thank you. We are trying to make lemonade here. We're trying to take an incredible crisis that all of us lived through in 07 and 08. The council tried to provide leadership in 2010, and we come to where we are today. An effort to acknowledge the past, but recognize the current realities and move forward. I want to thank, first of all the members of ACE who have engaged in this process. We love you. We thank you. I listened carefully to the comments of the chamber, and I welcome them to the extent that we can be more effective in doing this program. But I most importantly want to thank my staff and the departments, the Department of Housing and the Bureau of Sanitation and the city attorney. In my 15 months here, seldom have I seen three departments work together to find a solution to move this forward. This was an incredible crisis that had great impact on our nation, our state, and our city. The displacement of people from their homes. We had 35,000 foreclosed homes when we began to look at this, and now we position ourselves to figure out how we can move forward. Many of us the city felt that we were encumbered by this case in Chicago, but thanks to the thoughtful and aggressive efforts of our city attorney, I think we found a way for us to move forward with what we think is the right thing to do. That is to be very vigilant of the blight that's been created, to raise the funds appropriately so that we can address those concerns, and then move forward in a way that makes sure that this blight is removed from our city and we make the best of the circumstance. Mr. President, I'd like to call up the Department of Housing first to come up and talk about the program and how we're going to move forward.
Housing Community Investment Department. And
if you could start all over, because the mic didn't pick up your first few words.
Good morning, council members. My name is Helen Morales from the Los Angeles Housing Community Investment Department, and I'm here to report to you on the current status of our ordinance. We have currently effectively reviewed properties that have not registered with the foreclosure registry and are currently working on those. The bank earlier stated, a representative stated that they register and that we should be a proactive registration and proactive enforcement. However, we're finding that just from the period from January to May 31st, 2014, there were 1,600 registered properties, or I'm sorry, properties that failed to register, that were required to register. Of those, we pursued 805, and we currently have $500,000 in penalty fees that we're accruing and currently has a maximum amount, of $3,500 potentially recovery in just their failure to register the properties. So it is an issue that they're not registering the properties. The department has acted proactively currently to move forward and to proactively enforce the ordinance, and the proactive inspection will assist us in the process that we know is needed. And I'm going to introduce our systems person who will give you an update on what our system status is currently on the foreclosure registries.
Good morning, Greg Kong, Director of System Housing Community and Investment Department. In order to implement the foreclosure registry program, we put a system in place at the very beginning of the ordinance, when the ordinance was put in place in 2010, July. Within the first week, the system was able to allow lenders to download the ordinance information and download the paper form. And then within 2 months, we made available online registration where the lenders can register properties that went into NOD, and then also was able to receive payments online. To this date, the system has been up for more than 4 years now, and we've implemented quite a number of system enhancements. Today, the lenders, not only can they come in and register the properties, they have to indicate whether the property is vacant or not, and they have to indicate, provide a contact information for the servicers, for the meaning property managers, and also the managers. The system needs to ensure that the managers are within 100 miles of the location, so that there's a local contact for it. Going forward, we are actually pursuing. We recently issued, the system sent out notice of non-compliance to those properties that are not in compliance, that haven't registered upon filing of NOD. And we are pursuing those by following the city's collection procedures, by sending them delinquent notices, tenancy notices, and then for those who are still outstanding, we will forward them, refer them to collection agencies. Going forward further, we'll be responding to the Council's recommendation in 60 days to work with Building and Safety and CLA to come back with a report on some major systems enhancement that has been recommended by multiple departments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cedillo. I'm going to go to other members. Yes. Mr. Blumenfeld.
Not so much a question as it is a comment. I wanted to commend my colleague, Mr. Cedillo, for the triumph today. I know he's worked for several months. This is an issue that's stalled in City Council for a very long time, for years. I remember when it came to Budget Committee back in June, and you've taken the bull by the horns. And it's reminiscent. He and I have worked together on this foreclosure issue for years in the legislature. In fact, I had a bill back then dealing with a foreclosure fee, and didn't get a lot of support on it. It didn't pass, but I had the support of Mr. Cedillo, which I very much appreciated back when we were trying to do that. And this is a good motion, and I'm pleased to support it, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is more of a technical question. We had a great discussion in the Audits Committee a couple of weeks ago, so thank you for that. But I had also instructed the city clerk's office to bring the audits report back to council at the same time as the ordinance. So I don't know what happened, but I want to make sure. I know we're not voting on item 21 today, but when it does come back, I'd like to see the audits report come back at the same time, because we had really good recommendations in committee as part of the audits committee.
Okay, Alan, you got that, Mr. Clerk? So ordered. Mr. Clerk, you got that?
Yes, sir. We'll certainly do that.
Thank you so much.
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is so long overdue, and I'm so pleased that we're finally bringing this to the finish line, and I just want to congratulate Mr. Cedillo on his leadership, his persistence, and for the difficult task of fighting through a very complicated policy development process to get to this, because this is much more complicated than it seems. It seems like it should be a very simple thing to just create a registry and just start imposing fines. But especially in a situation where the foreclosure process can get started, but the person who's being foreclosed upon remains in the property. The last thing we want to do is impose penalties on a property owner who's fighting every month to just keep their property. So just to create that distinction of making sure that the fines and the enforcement is imposed on the financial institution that receives the foreclosed property rather than the person who's still trying to keep their property, that alone is a really complicated set of legal issues. And so I want to thank our staff, thank the City Attorney's Office, but especially to thank Mr. Cedillo for wading through the thicket of this to ensure that we're protecting people who need protection, we're protecting the quality of life in neighborhoods, and we're ensuring that the financial institutions that are responsible for blighting our neighborhoods are held accountable for that. So this is an enormous step forward in all three of those areas. The one thing I would like to ask is with regard to the funds that will be generated by the penalty monies, I'd like to offer a suggestion which I believe to be friendly. We've had a chance to discuss it with Mr. Cedillo to ensure that those funds are properly budgeted through the budget process. So I'd like to ask that we move to amend on item number 19, that we move to amend instruction 5B to read that B, include in the ordinance a penalty of $250 per day for those who do not pay the proactive inspection fee, which shall be collected into a penalty account within the foreclosure registry program fund, with any surplus revenues in the account to be subject to the annual budget process. And then if we could strike 5C, because that's already been incorporated into 5B. And then I would further ask that we instruct the clerk to refer the report discussed in instruction number 6 to both the Housing Committee and the Budget and Finance Committees as the policy continues to develop. And if that's acceptable,
No
Mr.
objection.
Cedillo,
That's
a friendly
accepted by
amendment.
Mr. Cedillo.
Thank you.
No other members on the queue. Just a quick question, staff. You've had bankers across the table and discussed this with them, correct?
Yes, we've reached out to many lending institutions.
And they came and talked to you?
Yes, we've had meetings with Wells Fargo,
All of them.
U.S. Bank, and
Super.
other banks.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. Members, no other speakers on the queue. Mr. Clerk, what's next?
What's next would be to vote on this matter, sir. They should be taken separately in as much as 18 is as presented, 19 is as amended. And while I have not heard a motion to continue item 21, the City Attorney's Office advises that item 21 should not be voted upon at this time.
So we'll take the City Attorney's advice unless there's objection to that.
No, we agree absolutely with the City Attorney. In fact, we'd like to hear from the City Attorney for a minute before we
Good. You
go
found
on.
that fine team from the City Attorney's Office that come up forward right now. Appreciate the Department and Housing staff. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good morning, council members. David Michelson with the Office of the City Attorney. With me, my colleague Adrian Corsani. Quick note, the reason why item 21 needs to be continued for a short period of time, it's a notice issue. There is a fee that's being imposed that's new, and under state law it requires publication in the newspaper twice.
So, with that being said, any questions of our fine city attorneys?
Let me note that the
Mr.
City Attorney
Cedillo, please rise at this point. Yeah.
City Attorney did an outstanding job, and I think that we should hear from them some of the challenges that this Chicago case confronted us with, and that how we were able to work through that, and then how we're going to be able to go forward. I just want to say to both of you that we really appreciate your work, your leadership, and really being very sound, lawyerly, but also very creative and very thoughtful about how we can move pragmatically forward and make this work for the city of Los Angeles, being respectful of all the parties that are involved. And I just want to publicly thank you, you personally, and the Office of the City Attorney for your stellar work on this matter.
We appreciate that very much. Thank you, Councilmember Cedillo. And it's been a pleasure, frankly, to work with your staff, with Jennifer Rivera, and has been a very good partner on this, along with the departments. The City Attorney's Office submitted to City Council back in June a relatively detailed confidential report that went into some specifics about some of the legal limitations associated with aspects of the foreclosure registry program and implications flowing from a federal district court case out of the city of Chicago. We have been in closed session with many of you over the last couple of months in one or more committee meetings. Suffice it to say, some of the legal challenges that are out there, and we're somewhat confined in what we can say outside of closed session, clearly. We have been wrestling with those legal restrictions. We do believe that the ordinance that is being requested by council and will be before you for voting within a couple of weeks is legally sound. It provides for this new proactive inspection fee to be paid to the department, ultimately the Department of Building and Safety. They will do these proactive inspections on real estate-owned properties at time of foreclosure, and they will be doing exterior inspections of all these properties. The fee, $356, is backed up by a CAO fee study done in conjunction with Building and Safety. We believe legally all the parameters have been met. And Adrian, did you want to add anything along those lines?
No, I would just point out that some of the technical and organizational changes were done to address some of the concerns stated by council over time as we've worked on this to align us more closely with other similar regulations throughout the state.
Well, City Attorneys, thank you for your excellent dedication and work to that. There's no other speakers on the queue. So, Mr. Clerk, we're going to vote on this, and we're not going to take up 21 as suggested by the real city attorney in this room, Dion, right there. Okay.
No, Mr. President, we do need to continue item 21 to a date certain.
So ordered. Do we pick a date? The 12th of November, the day of Veterans Day. Without objection. So ordered. Next.
That brings us to item 18, sir. 18 is...
We're going to vote on 18.
Is as presented.
As presented. Let's open the roll on 18. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Thank you,
And
Joe.
Mr. President, now that leaves item 19, and that's as amended.
As amendment, item 19. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
So ordered. Next. 33, Alan. 33.
Very good.
Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to item 33. It's called Special for Cards, and there is a 33A and a 33B as well that have been circulated and are before council.
Wayne Spindler.
Well, it's good to see the CRA has returned. It was disbanded, the CRA, but now apparently it's back again. It never dies. So everybody that thought that Jerry Brown had reformed the law and stopped this kind of thing, he's wrong. Everybody's wrong. The CRA is back in business again. And what does it do? It gives millionaires and billionaires money to build more buildings, more apartments, more crap, more dense populated, less family-friendly housing and buildings. And now here come the bonds, because now you have to fund things through the CRA with bonds. And bonds are basically the banks lending money and obtaining a security interest for the public agency to pay back that interest for a period of 30 years typically. So everybody that has kids, by the time they're 30 years old, those bonds are still going to be paid for decades after the council that approves it leaves. And that's what happens with this city. Perpetual cronyism. And it's a wonderful thing. I know. I know that many of you in the council enjoy this. This country will go bankrupt one day. I'll give it 20 years from today. And when it does, none of these bonds are going to be paid. But it's okay, because we'll just print new pesos. We'll call it the American peso, and we'll start over. Thank you.
Mr. Herman is out of time. Your card will be noted. Juan Aikala.
The whole system of real estate is outdated. We're still living in the Middle Ages. We are still keeping each other homeless. It's time to change the whole system. Now, everybody's always talking about we need to change the system. Where do we need to begin? With real estate. Because every single human being needs a place to live. That includes you, city attorney. That includes you, all idiots that are taking the houses away from people. I hope there is a bigger power that can come and take your houses away. Or change the laws so there is no way that anyone can lose their home for any reason. That's where we should be headed right now. Instead of creating Section 8 housing, community redevelopment of skyscrapers that one of these days are going to fall down with the earthquakes, putting everybody in tiny little halls we call apartment houses. We need to think in a more humane way so that everybody has a place to live that nobody can take away, not even the greedy city council with their liens and excessive amounts of red tape and bullshit. Bullshit.
John Walsh.
I wasn't even supposed to talk. Isn't that cool?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns CRA bond debt. I went to my first CRA meeting in 1971 in Berkeley. Ladies and gentlemen, it is abolished. There is no more CRA. There's not some psychotic BS. It's gone. What we have here is, once it was abolished, you still have to, under state law, follow the contracts that they had already signed. Some of them have been settled, some haven't. The CRA lived on borrowed money. They had billions statewide of bond debt. We have, for the past 2 years, been paying off this bond debt, which we have to pay off. There was no free money here, and basically what we did, and this is the same thing right here, is we financed development. Instead of the developers borrowing their own money, they borrowed from us at 3-4%, at the CRA, 3-4% lower than they would have received from a bank. So this is actually positive. There's nothing wrong with what's going on here. And I want you to realize, if you want another $14 billion in bond debt, vote yes on Prop 1. Or if you want to, there's no free water. Vote no, 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 no on all 6 propositions. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Blumenfield.
President, I want to thank Council President Wesson for scheduling this matter today and Councilmember Price for recognizing the time sensitivity of the matter and waiving it out of committee. So thank you for that. I also want to give a big thanks to the city staff and the mayor's office, Economic Workforce Development Department, offices of the CLA and CAO. They've put a lot of hours working on this for a long time, but particularly over the last week and really right up until this moment. Part of the urgency of having this item adopted by the City Council today is that the city is scheduled to receive $86.3 million in excess bond proceeds on January 2015. As you may remember, the City Council adopted the bond expenditure agreement and bond spending plan with the CRA-LA back in August and September, and that matter went before the CRA-LA Oversight Board. The Oversight Board approved the bond expenditure agreement and bond spending plan, placed it on the Recognized Obligation, or ROPS, program for 2014-2015. This means that the $86 million in excess bond proceeds could be transferred to the city on January 1st, 2015. But in the approval, the Oversight Board also included an amendment that asked the city to take a closer look at the bond spending plan, ensure that the projects on the list benefit each of the taxing entities on that list, and that the city meet with the taxing entities in order to receive their input. Since September, since that happened, a team of city staff led by the Office of the Mayor in conjunction with the Economic Workforce Development, CLA, CAO, and my staff have been meeting with representatives of each of the tax entities to ensure that our bond spending plans list of project has received their input and is in alliance with their goals. The city has made the best effort to meet the goals of each of the taxing entities, and the revisions to the bond expenditure agreement and bond spending plan do reflect those goals. And while if we need to have additional questions, we have the CLAO and CAO can describe the changes that were made. I want to close by saying a couple of comments. I've been involved with this issue in terms of the CRA and the dissolution for a long time. In fact, the dissolution of the CRA was a bill that I authored. But the intention of myself and the legislators who authored that bill was not to dissolve the CRA. It was a contingent enactment with a bill that would have recreated a more reformed CRA. But after they went through the court system, the dissolution bill was upheld, and the recreation bill was denied. And that's why we have the dissolution right now. But what's at issue here is not that, the bigger issue of the CRA dissolution. What's at issue is bond proceeds that were issued prior to July of 2011 and the excess bond money and how that gets spent. That money would have just gone out the window, and the money would have gone back to pay back the bondholders. One of the last bills I did when I was in the legislature was a bill, AB 1484, which created a process for successor agencies like the city to be able to move forward on those excess bond measures and to be able to spend the money the way it was intended under the bond covenant agreement, specifically for infrastructure issues. So we as a city have an opportunity now to finish some of those catalytic investments, invest in the former project areas, increase property values, and that's ultimately going to help all the taxing entities because we all share the same constituents. A constituent of the city is a constituent of the county, is a constituent of the school board, is a constituent of the community college district. These investments will raise property value and benefit all the taxing entities. We need to act today so that the window of time and investment in our communities did not get further delayed, and I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Blumenthal, thank you for that concise report. That was very good. Mr. Weezer for brief remarks.
Thank you. I have an even more concise one, Mr. President. Colleagues, I submitted an amending motion that would allow the CLA to add projects in general that council offices may seek prudent in their districts and give some more flexibility to the list that was submitted. That is all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Blumenfield.
And I'm informed on a technical basis I need to formally move that the council adopt the recommendations of the CLA and CAO report, and so I move that adoption.
So it's seconded by Mr. Weezer. So with that in front, Mr. Clerk, are you ready to move on this one?
Yes, sir. So in total, you're voting on motion Blumenfield-Price, motion 33A, motion 33B, and verbal motion Blumenfield-Weezer adopting the CAO and CLA recommendations.
Correct. Are we going to make one vote or are we going to make 4 votes?
One vote, sir.
One vote. So, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Right now,
Forthwith, Mr. President.
Forthwith on that. Very good work, Mr. Blumenfield. Thank you very much. What we also have here is one public comment card at this time. The last public comment card of the day. Brian Barajas. Is Brian still in the chambers? Brian is not in the chambers, so public comment for day has been completed. Mr. Clerk, there's that card for the record. Now we have 2 items for closed session. Mr. City Attorney, is that correct?
That is correct. There are 2 items for closed session.
All right, let's go into closed session. And please recite.
Mr. President, perhaps we should defer to the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Very good, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. President, item 31 is a straightforward resolution of a traffic accident injury case. If, unless members have questions or concerns, we can dispose of that matter by approving the recommendation of Budget and Finance in open session.
Could you just state for the record it was in the valley, it was in the central city, it was a city vehicle or whatever?
It was an accident that occurred near Cahuenga and Pilgrim Bridge. And it was the allegation was that it was an unsafe condition that led to the accident.
Very good. So, no speakers on the Mr. Clerk.
And Mr. President, if I may, in regards to item 31, in the case entitled Alan Sarkisadi E.T. versus Jenya Fakir Kihan et al., there is a recommendation to expend $1 million in settlement.
Thank you very much. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
13 ayes. Thank you.
Mr. President, that brings us to item 32. It's an item scheduled for closed session and was a matter that has been waived from the Planning and Land Use Management Committee.
Very good. So this is item 32, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. There are cards on that matter
All right,
that
we'll
need to
take
be
the
taken.
cards. Wayne Spindler. One minute, Mr. Spindler.
Yes, this is my favorite time of any council meeting. Money! Oh boy, money. I just hope that any of you out there one day will be standing at the precipice of receiving a check for damages from the city of Los Angeles, because we are all victims. All of us that live here are victims. In the case of H5 Capital, they have the life-threatening situation that they could not build 2 restaurants, and it was a regulatory taking. Does anybody know what a regulatory taking is? I'm the only one, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, but whatever it is, it's going to cost a fortune. So my congratulations to H5 Capital. Congratulations on the winnings.
Well, note Juan Aikala's card is here. He's out of time. Mr. Herman's card is here. He's out of time. That completes the cards, Mr. Clerk. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll.
Mr. President, I'm sorry. It's a matter scheduled for closed session.
Very good. That's what I was waiting to hear. All right, sergeants, prepare the chambers for closed session. Thank you very much. All right, we're back from executive session. Mr. Fong, as city attorney, would you state what's before us?
In closed session, the City Council adopted a motion directing the City Attorney's Office to enter into a stipulated judgment with Petitioner's Counsel in this matter and request that the court sign it. And the stipulated judgment would remand this matter back to the West LA Area Planning Commission.
Mr. City Attorney.
And for the record, the vote in closed session was 10-0 with Council members Fuentes, Huizar, Martinez, O'Farrell, and Wesson absent.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered. Any announcements?
Desk is clear.
No adjourning motions? All rise for adjourning motions.
We adjourn in memory of Floyd Hoffman, Jr., who passed away October 22nd of this year. He was born in August 1944 in Long Beach, California. He grew up in Los Angeles, attended Gompers Junior High School and Fremont High School, class of 1963. It was at these schools that his athletic ability manifested. He excelled in track, baseball, and basketball. Floyd's deepest human bond and friendship began in '62 when he met his future wife, Marcia. Their wedding took place on June 18, 1965. As they began building their life together, his initial career was at McDonnell Douglas as an aircraft mechanic. After a couple of years, he assumed greater responsibility as a supervisor and then began to contemplate transitioning his career path that would utilize his people skills with more opportunity for advancement. As he worked to build his career, he and Marcia had 3 children, born in 1970, 1976, and also 1982. After his first child was born, he took an active step in transitioning to a new career as a firefighter. With Marcia at his side, he studied passed the exam to enter the Los Angeles County Fire Department in 1974. At the age of 29, he began his career as a firefighter. He progressed through the ranks as a firefighter specialist in '78. He also promoted to captain in '84. He continued his rapid advance in the fire service, earning the promotion to battalion chief in 1990 and then assistant chief in '94. In '96, he suffered cardiac arrest and had a triple bypass surgery, and then he retired in 1998. After retiring, he took on the responsibility as a fire safety advisor on movie sets, which gave him an opportunity to have a reduced schedule, but also allowed him to travel with his family. After recent complications from a routine medical procedure, his health began to rapidly decline, and he passed away on October 22nd. He and his family will be holding their services on Thursday, October the 30th at 10 a.m. at Glory Christian Fellowship International on West Torrance in Carson. He leaves his wife and his 3 children.
Thank you very much. Mr. Englander.
Mr. President, colleagues, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Eric Bernardi. He's a longtime CERT member who tragically passed away on Sunday, October 19th. He was airlifted to UCLA Hospital by LA County Fire Department following a traffic accident on his motorcycle. Following the notification of Eric's hospitalization, Eric and his family were visited by literally dozens of Los Angeles Fire Department personnel, including 5 captains, 2 department chaplains, 3 battalion chiefs, and 1 assistant chief. Just to send the message to you and share that of how much he did for the city of Los Angeles, for the local residents, in CERT training and emergency preparedness. In fact, he was one of the key members who helped facilitate and organize our recent Valley Disaster Preparedness Fair that we held at Fire Station 87, where we had well over 1,000 people attend. It was because of Eric and his partnerships and relationships and what he's been able to do to reach out and get people CERT certified
spending his time and volunteering hours and hours and hours helping people to help themselves. His impact will be felt throughout the entire fire department family and certainly the CERT community. He'll be greatly missed by his friends, his colleagues, and certainly the city of Los Angeles. Eric is survived by his mother, his aunt, and his sister. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Englander. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, colleagues. I ask that we adjourn in memory of David Martin Rothenberg Sr., who passed away on September 11, 2014. David was born in St. Louis, Missouri on February 14, 1962, and moved to the Watts community, where he worked as a master welder at the Watts Labor Community Action Committee for 18 years. David showcased his skills in welding and taught many kids in the Watts community, as well as helping those in need. He adopted kids from the community, even helping one get his high school diploma. David also took part in the city's last 2 ciclavias, joining in on feeder rides from Watts and riding the routes. He leaves his beloved wife, Michelle, and his sons, David Jr. and Devon, daughter Brittany, and 7 grandchildren, his siblings Jordan and Merlin, as well as many nieces, nephews, and cousins. He was preceded in death by his loving mother, Marcia Silverman. A memorial service was held on Friday at 4 at the WLCAC in Watts, celebrating his life. David Rothenberg Sr., may he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian.
Mr. President, members, on October 19th, my family lost a very close and dear friend. The Armenian community lost one of its brightest lights, and Southern California lost one of its greatest champions of the arts, culture, and education when Laurel Karabian passed away on October 19th. Laurel was born in 1954 and graduated cum laude from Pomona College, where she specialized in Renaissance studies, and that's appropriate because she spent the rest of her life as a true Renaissance woman. She spoke 4 languages. She was an aficionado of the opera, of the ballet, of theater, of music, and was one of the greatest champions of the arts that we've had in Southern California. She earned her MBA in Fine Arts Management at the UCLA Anderson School of Management, and then went on to serve as the Associate Director of Development for the San Francisco Symphony. And then after moving back to Los Angeles, she took over as the Director of Development for the Los Angeles Philharmonic, where she was instrumental in expanding the ability of the Philharmonic to serve our great community. She later served as an independent consultant, providing management and fundraising services for arts and community organizations throughout Southern California. She was appointed by Governor Duke Majan to serve on the California Arts Council, and was also a member of the Los Angeles County Arts Commission. She was a board member of the Armenian Library and Museum of America, and was the founding president of the Los Angeles chapter of the Armenian International Women's Association. In recent decades, Laurel's great passion was in helping along the Arshak Dekranian Armenian School, which was named after her father, Archie Dekranian, who immigrated to this country and made a great success of himself. And that school has provided a great opportunity for advancement in education for many young people who otherwise wouldn't have had that chance. Like her parents and her husband, whom many of you know, a former majority leader of the California State Assembly, Walter Karabian, Laurel was truly a pillar of this community, was one of the great benefactors of the organizations that matter to all of us, but she was also a very warm and kind friend to people throughout Southern California, both at the highest levels of our society and just ordinary people as well. She was truly generous of heart, generous of spirit. She'll be terribly missed by all of Southern California, but especially, of course, by her family, her extended list of family and friends, including husband Walter, Deputy City Attorney Benjamin Karabian, their daughter Madeline, and many, many other friends and relatives. She will be missed, and I ask that we adjourn in her memory.
Mr. Blumenfeld.
Thank you. I also ask that we adjourn in the memory of Gene Barger, who's the owner of Barger Harley Davidson in Canoga Park. I had the pleasure of meeting Gene only a few months ago when I spoke to the West Side Harley Owners Group. In fact, he and some of the other members surprised me by making me an honorary Harley-Davidson club member, which I was amused and touched by. And Gene was born in Florence, Kansas in 1932. He graduated from Bakersfield College, and soon after graduation, his passion for the railroad and steam engine locomotives led him to join the Santa Fe Railway as a fireman, shoveling coals into steam engines. He was determined to forge his own life and his own destiny, and he packed his bags. He went to Los Angeles, and he realized his future as a salesman, and he started as a door-to-door salesman. Ultimately, in the mid-'70s, he bought his first motorcycle dealership in Sherman Oaks, the Sherman Oaks Honda and Triumph. And then a few years later, he expanded his businesses and co-founded the Barger Harley-Davidson in Canoga Park. And that Harley-Davidson is one of the longest-serving authorized Harley-Davidsons in the county. It has served the community for over 37 years. He was passionate about many things, especially Harley-Davidson brand. He'd been a member of the Harley-Davidson Dealership Auto Advisory Committee, and he was really a down-to-earth person, member of the community I had the good fortune to get to know a little bit. He's survived by his longtime girlfriend, Gitta Peterson, his brother and sister-in-law, Rodney and Alna, and the Barger Harley-Davidson extended family that's out there. He will be missed.
Thank you very much. Members, I stand here where John Farrar used to sit. I know he'd want me to adjourn in memory of two great Trojans. Lived to be 93, the greatest swimming coach ever known in collegiate sport, Peter Dolan. A wonderful coach at USC for many, many years. Olympic champions that he helped create. Also, Richard Dick Perry, the great athletic director for many years of the glory days of the Trojans, that he passed at 85 years old. One of the great two Trojans there. And also, I thought it would be important that we remember these names here of those who went before us in the north of the county, in Placer County last week. Michael Davis Jr., sheriff, killed in a crime incident along the way with Danny Glover, a Sacramento County sheriff, when they lost two sheriffs in an incident up in the northern part of California. And also this week, in the beginning of the week, the county of Ventura lost one of their deputy sheriffs, Eugene Koshchenko, tragically off the 101 in Ventura County. And this morning, less than 24 hours after an incident where he served a warrant for a SWAT team for Pomona Police Department, the SWAT officer there, Sean Diamond, who used to be LAPD officer, lost his life. Every day our police officers put their lives on the lines, whether they're in Los Angeles or around the state. Let's always remember them. This concludes the meeting of the Los Angeles City Council. Continue to serve the city well. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, Ellen.